Hey, this video is for anyone who has been disturbed by the reaction they saw to Charlie Kirk's death. This is one of those that's not going to be an evergreen video where, you can pick it up and watch it 5 years from now and go, oh, yeah, I can relate right now. But it might be an interesting thing to watch 5 or 10 or even 15 years from now because it gives a glimpse of sort of the heart of what's going on in America. I also wanted to make this video because I'm hoping that the thing I'm going to talk about gets resolved, and it'll be interesting for someone watching this later to be able to go, wow, yeah, and be able to see the result of what happened, because we're in a moment of awakening in the world today, and in particular in the United States. The assassination of Charlie Kirk on September 10th, 2025 was an interesting moment for us, to say the least. But the thing that it really did is that it revealed something that has been hiding in plain sight, and that is the health crisis in America, the mental health crisis in America. There's a saying that in a society where the sick are neglected, the healthy will soon become afflicted. That is, I think, where we're at, where we're now in a point in our history where the mental health crisis has gotten so badly it's starting to affect everyone, not just those who are sick, but everybody, to the extent that one deranged lunatic with a high-powered rifle did something that had ripple effects across the entire world. I mean, there are very few things in history I can think of that has had the kind of effect that this has. The death of Princess Diana rippled pretty hard, but it's not just that this person was liked by millions of people, appreciated by millions of people, because there are plenty more who didn't. It was that it was a horrible thing to have a father of two small children murdered in front of his family, live on camera. And most of us saw it, didn't want to see it. At least in my case, I think most people didn't want to see it, or even maybe they thought they did and then decided they didn't want to. Thank goodness I saw the blurred out version of it. But that was enough for me. The point I'm making is hopefully that this has woken us up. This has given us some sort of idea of how bad it's gotten, how bad it's gotten. And I'm just going to say it, that this is a problem that it's all across the political spectrum, but a vast, vast portion of it is on the far edge of the left, out in the Democrat wing of the parties, where we've got very, very sick people thinking that they are normal, doing horrible things in the name of their ideology. They're lacking religion. These folks have nothing else to believe in other than their political beliefs, and that has become their religion, and they'll kill for it, apparently. That's what we're starting to see. Now, what we saw on, the day of Charlie's assassination, the day after, it was horrifying enough, but that wasn't the most horrifying part. The most horrifying part was the celebration of violence that we saw. It's what they're starting to call assassination culture, right? This celebration of violence. One piece of data I found was X Analytics from the X platform. The day after the shooting, said that there were 2.5 million plus, more than 2.5 million likes on tweets that mocked the shooting from the day before. Like more than 2.5 million people going, yeah, right. Now that was the smaller part of it. There were plenty of videos out there of people, videoing themselves cheering, celebrating this, saying crazy stuff like "Who's next?" and naming names of who they'd like to be next. And then there were news media who actually used the word karma when talking about this, and calling him divisive, like somehow that is it a subtle little justification, isn't it? It's not them just saying that he's a divisive figure, and he wasn't, by the way. Division happens inside of us, not outside of us. I can say something. Is that divisive? Or does it just divide us because of the reaction you have to it? My opinion is only my opinion. Charlie's opinion was only Charlie's opinion. It's not divisive. But news media says subtle things like that so that they can really justify it quietly, let you know that it's okay. And this too is a sign of the mental health crisis in the United States, that the news media is run by psychopaths to a great extent. Not all of them. There's probably a couple of good ones out there. But here we are. Here we are, looking at this data, asking ourselves, what does it all mean? And where do we go from here? Maybe more importantly, where do we go from here? Were you surprised by the level of hate that we saw? I wasn't surprised by the level of hate. I was shocked by the glee. I was shocked by the glee. See, I've come to understand that there's a tremendous amount of hate, and much of it is way over on the left side of the political spectrum. Hate is now it's what they operate under. I feel like the right operates more from hope, and the left is driven. I mean, the fuel that seems to drive the left is hate. And when you get enough of that going on, eventually you get something horrible that happens. But the glee that comes from seeing somebody that they don't like, or they don't like to debate, or they don't like to watch win, be destroyed. And destroyed is the nice way to put it. Because, we could say it more viscerally, but we don't need to because everyone's seen the video. You know what happened. But anyone to have glee around that should be a gigantic neon sign, a wake-up sign that America's in peril. We're in peril. In 2025, October 2025, we are in peril in America. This ship must be fixed. There is a giant hole in it. And I don't know how we fix it. I'm not going to propose a way to fix it. Something's got to be done. Political leaders, if you're watching, let's do something about this. Maybe we need to go back and reevaluate what we're doing about the mental health crisis in the U.S. Maybe we need to stop telling people that aren't completely sane that they are normal, because there's way too many people out there who think they are normal and that their voice is righteous, that are not sane, that are now, yelling into their video screens on their phone how happy they are about a man being murdered in front of his family and asking who's next. That's not acceptable. And it's a sign of very bad things. So this is a wake-up call. This isn't about ideology. It isn't about left and right, though I've used those references. It's about humanity. The people who celebrated, who saw Charlie Kirk as a target rather than a human being, that hurts. That should hurt us all at a soul level. That these people are out there operating, and their vote counts as much as yours and mine. What are your thoughts on it? Let's talk about the problem, though. Even though I don't have a solution, let's talk about some things we can do, some ways we can lean into this. The stats are these, and I got a couple of them written down here, so excuse me for referencing my notes. 1 in 5 U.S. adults, that's 57 million in the U.S., just in the U.S., face mental illness yearly, some sort of mental illness struggle. 57 million. Did you know that? It's a huge number. And a great deal of these, somewhere it's estimated about 60%, go untreated for numerous reasons. Sometimes it's financial, sometimes it's stigma, sometimes it's other thing. This is a stat from NAMI. You can look it up. I think it's National Association of Mental Illness. The shooter, Charlie Kirk's assassin, perfect example. This guy's got erratic, insane rants online, nutty, and nobody called him out on it. There was no intervention. He wasn't brought in and taken care of. And part of the reason for that is insanity like this insane rhetoric that's being spewed has become so common that it's not unusual. So even though it might be disturbing, you're like, man, it's just one more crackpot. But this one was a crackpot with a gun. The problem is, though, with these untreated cases is isolation plus silence sometimes leads to violence. In the case of this guy, that's what it is. And I won't say his name here because I want history to not glorify this idiot in any way. And if we don't if we dodge tough talks, we don't have the tough talks about like these about tragedies that have happened and the loss of Kirk. I mean, if anything that Kirk's death tells us, it screams, listen, listen, listen to the signs of the insanity around us and do something about it. Something has to be done about the insanity. But what should we do? I think the first thing we can do, the most important thing, is to have empathy, because the mentally ill are the mentally ill. They're not choosing to be that way. They just have evolved to be that way. So empathetically, any of us could be there, right? So we have to approach this from a heart space and ask ourselves, what would I do if this were my child? What could I do for this person if they were my friend? Maybe they are your child. Maybe they are your friend. So let's lead with empathy. Start there. And maybe as a society, what we can do is we can start putting pressure on our elected officials to fix some of the problems with the mental health care situation. This has been eroding. I'll make you go back and do a video on this about how it really started with the Reagan administration defunding some mental health facilities and putting the mentally ill out on the street. But none of that really matters right now. What really matters is that we have to do something about it. We have to maybe put some funding behind helping people get right, get their heads right. Never before in history of the United States, since I've been around at least, has going to see a therapist been less stigmatized. I think that more people than ever feel comfortable talking to a therapist, but many people don't have access. So how do we get them access? How do we get more people on the street helping them help themselves? These are questions that need to be answered. These are things that our elected officials should be spending money on, instead of perhaps sending money for more wars or other things that aren't beneficial to our country. But to get this country healthy again means to get us mentally healthy again as well. And that means helping these people who are struggling, and some of which are making really insane choices with what they do with their anger. Kirk's death revealed a deep wound in America, and it left an even deeper one, I think. It shouldn't be for nothing that he died. It should be for so many good things that come from it. And I hope I watch this video 8 or 10 years from now, and I find that what came from it was that we're living in a better country than we used to. Canada, I'll put you guys in here too. Australia, you guys are struggling with some of the same stuff. England, love you guys. Hey, all my international friends, this is about all of us. If you guys have any comments, anything you want to share, positive, negative, doesn't matter, put it down in the notes below. I love you guys. Thank you for being here. I appreciate that you're here. Do me a favor and subscribe to that show. Boop, boop, boop. What is it? This thing. Subscribe. Okay. Does that look cool? I don't know. We'll see an edit. I'll see you guys on the next one. If you haven't checked out the Soul podcast yet, check it out. It's a good show. I think you'll like it. You get it anywhere you listen to podcasts. It's me talking for a lot longer and maybe a little more articulately. Thanks. See you soon.